items to note. There is live captioning, which you can access by following the link posted in the conversation associated with this webinar. Additionally, this webinar will be recorded and shared. So please be sure to email Monique Guevara at seattle.gov to set up updates. This email address will also be posted in the conversation so that you can and have it written down. Again, that's Monique Guevara at seattle.gov. Lastly, we will be supporting Q&A sessions today. So please submit questions through the conversation. Again, the conversation associated with this webinar. All right. Today, we will be hearing from several agencies, including Public Health, Seattle King County, Seattle Parks and Recreation, Seattle Public Libraries, Seattle Schools, and the Department of Education and Early Learning. To kick it off, we have the Director of Seattle's Department of Nature, Andres Mantilla.
Thank you, Jackie. Welcome, everyone. Hello again. My name is Andres Mantilla. I am the Director of the Department of Neighborhoods at the City of Seattle. I would like to start by thanking everyone for joining this webinar and to also thank those that participated in last week's webinar. We had over 200 participants. This is a joint collaboration with various departments. Jackie mentioned some of them: the Parks Department, the Department of Early Learning, or Education and Early Learning, Seattle Public Libraries, and as well as with Seattle Public Health in King County, and then Seattle Public Schools. We all acknowledge that we're in a new and unprecedented situation, which is a huge priority for the City of Seattle. And to that end, DON is providing this forum for the public as an opportunity to provide the latest updates as things are coming and are changing quickly. And for this to be a dynamic setting that we can adapt quickly based on emerging trends, emerging topics and themes that we are hearing from all of you. So to that end, if you are emailing in topics and we are seeing that those are trending towards topics or conversations that folks want to hear about, we will amend this outreach webinar to deal with and address those topics. As I mentioned, this week's webinar is to help the community understand the rapidly changing information and to provide a forum for the public to ask questions and voice concerns. It is important to us that you have the most accurate information available so that you can make safe and informed decisions for you and your loved ones. We would like to thank you for letting us share the information we have and hope you will also share with us your questions, thoughts, and concerns. Separate from this, we are also working with our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, our Office of Labor Standards, and our community liaisons to expand the number of non-English languages that we are reaching out to in language. So please stay tuned for more information on that. And with that, thank you and stay healthy, and I will turn it back to Jackie.
Thank you, Andres. Next, we will be hearing from Public Health, Seattle King County.
I am listening to a COVID update. Andres just spoke.
Hi, my name is Deborah Baker, and I am heading up the Public Health Speakers Bureau. And
yeah, it is.
Our role is to push information and share information out into the community so that people can make informed choices about family health, business, and organization. It's my understanding that you all have gone through many of our slides and some of our presentation, and so you're aware that we really want to protect our elders and those with chronic medical conditions and those with compromised immune systems. Really, I just can't say it enough. I just met with some folks at the Port of Seattle around cruise ships, and we really want to stop the spread of this virus and slow it down. And so the best way to do that is the non-pharmaceutical interventions that we shared with you with regard to washing your hands, practicing the social distancing, can't say it enough, 6 feet or more, hand sanitizer, and washing of the hands, can't say it enough. And then the latest guidelines, and I'm told that the president did a press conference this morning. I have not gotten the intel about that yet because I've just been on the run today. But that being said, what I have is the latest from this week, which is events with more than 250 attendees is prohibited, and then events with fewer than 250 attendees are prohibited unless the event organizers take steps to minimize the risk. And how do you do that if you are going to host something? Is again protecting our elders and those with underlying medical conditions, making sure that they know not to attend. And then I'm told that people who are organizing events are doing a check with folks that are coming in and with folks that are serving. And the wellness check is simply, are you having any symptoms? If you're noticing folks sneezing, coughing, or anything like that, telling folks if they're sick to stay home. There was someone, because I'm on an emergency response team, command team, and there was someone sitting with us who was clearly sick. And I was like, we have to abide by this. We can't do this. Like, can someone ask a person to go home and take care of themselves, right? So, and doing it in compassion, grace, and care, right, and not fear. If you're going to have social events, having the hand sanitizer and practice and having wash stations where people can wash their hands. Again, I was somewhere today where we were served lunch, and instead of having a buffet where folks were, picking out food, the food was portioned out for us, set in bowls, and handed to us on a plate. We weren't even allowed to pick up the bowl of salad. The bowl of salad was placed on a plate along with your piece of chicken, and we went on down the line. So those are some of the ways in which, if you are going to host an event, and typically folks who are considering this are faith-based communities. That's what we're hearing. And so we do have guidance for community organizations and faith-based communities with regard to limitations on gatherings and how do we minimize COVID-19. I will send this information forward. It's a sheet that shares everything that you need to know at this time. Again, I don't need to go into any of the rest of this. You all have this information. I want to kind of see if there's another question that I know of that I can address. Yeah, so I think I answered the question around events with implications on faith-based communities and weddings. And the guidance, if you are over 250 attendees, the guidance is not to have it. It's not to have it. The other thing that I really want to say, as public health employees, one of the things we're concerned about is the social distancing, which we definitely are adhering to, but also folks who get their primary connection, and we all connect through socialization. So can't stress enough connecting in with your neighbors, staying connected with friends. I'm told today that when this showed up in Japan, one of the ways Japan managed to stay healthy and get through it as quickly as they did was that folks went on Zoom and set up social platforms and had tea together, lunch together over the social platforms. And it can sound wonky because we're just a social society, but I'm telling you, one of the things, again, we're concerned about is once we come out of the coronavirus or as we're moving through it, we don't want to see an end. If we can do this to help stave off depression, interpersonal isolation, it would be really, really, really helpful. So can't say that enough. And I think that's going to end my presentation at this time because I know you all have seen the rest of it.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I know that King County Public Health, Seattle King County is handling a lot right now. If folks have questions, can you please add them to the conversation this time when we are with Deborah so she can answer them now, recognizing that she is going to have to leave this webinar early.
Thank you. And the only other thing I would like to say is we will be providing support in the future for your weekly webinars. And so with that, if you give us questions, then we'll be sure to bring those answers with us when we're presenting at the next webinar. So we will be with you weekly.
Perfect. Thank you again, Deborah.
Thank you.
If folks have questions at this point, because Deborah will be needing to step away, please email them to Monique Guevara. Her email address is in the conversation associated with this chat, and we will follow up with Deborah or folks from Seattle King County to make sure that your questions are answered. Moving forward, we will now hear from Jesus Aguirre, the Superintendent of Seattle Parks and Recreation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you a representative from Seattle Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, this is Rachel Shulkin. I'm Communications Manager at Parks and Rec, and Jesus was supposed to be here, but I guess he got pulled away.
Hi, this is Jesus Aguirre. No, I was on mute, so I apologize.
No problem. Thank you both
me?
for joining us. Jesus, take it away.
Rachel. Yeah, sorry, thank you. Yes, I want to just very quickly recap the announcement that was made yesterday with regard to our operations by the mayor. And in our attempt to continue to participate in as much as we can, supporting our community, the health of our communities, and minimize the opportunities for folks to come together to continue the spread of this virus, we have actually closed all of our
Let's pause for a second, Jesus. I think we've lost connection. Jesus, are you back with us?
I am. For some reason, the phone kept muting me automatically. I apologize. But I'm not sure how much folks caught, but essentially the idea.
All right, so it seems like we've lost Jesus again. Let's give him a second to join us. Okay, so while Jesus is getting back on the call, let's hear from Seattle Public Libraries. Rick Sheridan, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Rick Sheridan. I'm the Director of Institutional and Strategic Advancement for the Seattle Public Library. Thank you for having me on the webinar here today. So just want to go over some of the recent decisions made around the Seattle Public Library system. An announcement was made late yesterday that as of today, Friday, March 13th at 6 p.m., the Seattle Public Library system will fully close all of its facilities for at least 1 month until April 13th. So this decision, which was made in consultation with Mayor Durkin and the Library Board of Trustees, we recognize is a hard one. It certainly takes us out of our business of providing information to the public. But we did so out of concern for the well-being of our patrons and staff. And this decision follows the guidelines that were set forth by the state and the county in terms of health measures that could be taken to prevent the further spread of the COVID-19 virus. And just as a little background for people on the call, the Seattle Public Library System has 27 locations. We have the Central Library and 26 neighborhood libraries. And we staff that with approximately 700 staff members. And we see about 100,000 plus patron visits each week. And so there was significant concern that if the infection presented itself, the virus presented itself in a library branch, that it could be a point of spreading it further in the community. So based on consultations with the mayor, the library board of trustees, comparable entities like Seattle Parks and Recreation, we made a decision to fully close the system for at least 1 month. Now, we do recognize this is a hardship. There are many members of the community who rely upon the library as a resource for information. Children, seniors, casual readers, job seekers, and we recognize that losing access to physical materials will create a burden. I do want to point out that the library does have digital resources available to the public. They're available now, and those will continue to be available to the public. So you can download ebooks on tablets, you can stream music, you can stream movies, and you can continue to ask reference questions to library staff via telephone or via our online platform. So as much as we can, even as we eliminate the physical contact, we do want to continue to provide library resources to the public. Now, there are questions about what about the materials that library patrons currently have in their hands, and we want to assure you that we want you to hold on to those materials, that all materials currently in the possession of library patrons will be automatically extended. And our goal is to have you bring those materials back when we reopen. Additionally, with the library levy that recently passed, we're in a fine-free environment, so you don't have to worry about fines at all. So keep those materials, continue to enjoy those materials, and bring them back when the library system reopens. Now, Wi-Fi around library buildings will continue to operate throughout the period of closure. And we do have a number of hotspots, which are mobile Wi-Fi devices that we're going to lend to navigation teams to take to homeless encampments. So we are taking into consideration what the impacts are in terms of digital access for communities like the insecurely housed. So we're definitely focused on that. So we've definitely shared this information with the public. The mayor's office put out a press release late yesterday. It was definitely covered by the media, like the Seattle Times, but we've also sent out an all patron email. We've got signage that will go up on our facilities. We've got a notice up on our website, and we have shared via social media as well. So we want to make sure the public is fully aware of the impacts of our closures. A couple of other details that people have asked. You won't unfortunately be able to pick up holds because we do want to keep these facilities closed and limit interactions by the public with staff and vice versa. And our book drops will be locked as well. But again, all materials that are currently being held by patrons should not worry about returning them. We'll just get those back from patrons when this closure is over. If people are interested in additional information, we have resources up on our website. That's www.spl.org. There's information specifically focused on the coronavirus, but also there's information about how to ask us questions, send us an email, chat with us online, or take advantage of the digital resources that exist right now. So that's what I have to share. Thank you for providing me this time. And if you have any questions, please submit them via the Skype message capability, and we'll try to answer them at the end of this call.
Thank you so much, Rick, for sharing all of that information. We are now going to try to reconnect with Seattle Recreation. Jesus Aguirre, are you there?
He's unfortunately not able to get on, but I can fill in for him for just a brief update. Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Rachel. We appreciate that.
Okay. So as he started to say, we also closed community centers, schools, environmental learning centers, also with the goal of stopping the spread. We see, similar to the libraries, we also see tons of people in a given day, particularly through our rent programs and our child care program. Are kind of our busiest, and our pools are the busiest at this season. With that, we also canceled all of our permitted events between now and April 14th, along with our athletic field permit holders. We are keeping open our shower program. There will be new hours for some of the sites, and so expect to see those in a press release and on our blog and website. Hopefully by the end of today, we'll get those out to folks. And again, those showers are open to anyone who needs a shower. There's towels provided, and often there's toiletries that are donated by the community there as well. And we hope that people can continue to use those services. We're cleaning them kind of round the clock, and we're working on kind of implementing just some social distancing as people wait for showers as well. With that said, there's also, parks are still open. Our goals are still the same, though, that people shouldn't be congregating together in large groups. So we encourage hiking and biking and getting out in nature and making sure that you have access to fresh air, but please try and do so safely. Our comfort stations are still open. So we call our restrooms comfort stations for anyone who doesn't know, so that's an awesome place to be able to wash your hands regularly. We do have a couple 24-hour sites, one at Green Lake and one in Ballard Commons Park as well. I think that's probably it for me from now. Along just a couple, Kubota Gardens is also closed and Japanese Garden is closed, just because those are kind of enclosed park areas that tend to get quite busy and congregated. We opted to close those sites as well.
Thank you so much for providing updates, Rachel. We will now be transitioning to Seattle Public Schools. Is someone here, is a representative online? All right, we're gonna hold off on Seattle Public Schools, and we will be hearing from the Department of Education and Early Learning.
Hi, everybody. This is Monica Liang Aguirre calling in from the Department of Education and Early Learning. I'm actually the Early Learning Division Director, and I am going to speak very broadly about some of our priorities that we've been focusing on over the week. As you know, for us, the situation has changed drastically in the last 48 hours with the closing first of SPS and then the extended closure of schools announced by Governor Inslee yesterday. So our priority right now is thinking about childcare. We know that the closing of schools has a huge impact on all of our families. And we are thinking especially about families who are most impacted by that, meaning those who are, for example, essential personnel. We need to make sure that our first responders, our healthcare professionals still have access to childcare so that they don't miss work, because they're essential in this time right now to be able to continue to work effectively. We're also thinking about our families, just most vulnerable families who also can't afford to take off time work to stay home with their children. So we've been focusing on basically three strategies, three priorities: helping to keep as many providers open and serving families as possible. We know that this is something that's changing day to day, and again, with the increased closure of buildings and different directives that we're receiving and different guidance from public health, this is an ever evolving situation, but we are committed to providing guidance to all of the childcare and early learning providers. We also want to make sure that we're figuring out ways to minimize financial hardships for our providers, because we know that they're going to be probably likely at one point maybe need to close temporarily or for an extended period of time, and we don't want to harm the long-term establishment of our early learning providers. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about. Currently, we are seeing a big decrease in the availability of our early learning providers and our childcare providers, the majority of them who have closed at this point. We also are wanting to minimize the financial impacts on families who require childcare during school closure. So again, this is a priority of ours, is making sure that the families that are most vulnerable and those who perform essential duties in the health and safety of our city have access to childcare and are not going to suffer undue financial burdens because of that. And so we're developing ways to minimize this financial impact on families. And finally, recognizing that the child care system as we know it is going to change drastically the landscape over the next month. We are also working with our partners at the state, at the county, and with the district to help develop methods of alternate and informal childcare, because we feel like this is going to be an essential strategy in ensuring that our families still have safe childcare to go to so that they can work and attend to their business. So those are our strategies. We don't have specific policies or plans to share at this time, but those should be forthcoming in the next few days.
Thank you so much, Monica. And so lastly, we were hoping to hear from Seattle Public Schools. Is anyone here? So it seems as though Seattle Public Schools has not been able to join us today. We will, oh, is someone there?
Excuse me. Sorry, somehow I was muted. This is Pat Sander from Seattle Public Schools.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining us.
I can give you a brief update of where we are now.
That would be great. Thanks, Pat.
We have, of course, all of our school buildings closed, and they are closed to staff as well as the public. The custodial staff is remaining in the buildings and beginning the cleaning duties. We have a group of people that have been working feverishly the last couple of days to begin a food distribution process on Monday at 26 school sites. We'll be distributing lunch between 11 and 1 p.m. And we've been working in concert with the city so that we can do that distribution at the schools with our nutrition services staff and following the social distancing guidelines that are out there, as well as having specific criteria with entrance and exit locations so that people are really picking up the food and taking it to go home and not be congregating at the school sites. And then our nursing staff have been working with families to make sure that those that we may had medication at our buildings, that we're able to get that medication returned to families that may need it over the length of this closure. And we're also working with the McKinney-Vento and foster care families and with the different sites there to make sure that needs are being met.
Thank you so much, Pat. I really appreciate having you here with us today. We are now concluding our presenters for this webinar. We now want to open it up to a Q&A. We received many questions in the conversation. If you happen to be participating by phone and would like to unmute yourself to ask a question, would be the perfect time.
Hi, I had a question regarding the school sites that are distributing lunches. Is there a way to get a list of them?
Yes, those school sites will be posted on the website for Seattle Public Schools.
Okay, thank you. So just go to SPS and it'll be posted on there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions?
this is, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Yling Wong from Capitol Hill Housing. I think I heard a speaker earlier mention, I'm not sure that I heard right, but I thought I heard her mention that if the event was anticipated to have 200 people to cancel it, perhaps I misheard, or is there a reason that that's different from the 250 benchmark from the state? And what is the reason?
Did you hear that from the public health speaker, Deborah?
Yeah, I think so. I just wasn't sure if someone else could maybe speak to that too. I know she's gone.
Can anyone else speak to that? So it seems, oh, is that someone who's interested in speaking to this point? So I'm going to go ahead and write down your question, and we'll follow up with public health and share out that information as a follow-up to this webinar.
Great. Thank you all for doing this and all your hard work.
Of course. Any other questions?
There's a question in the chat bar that says, are public schools needing to make up the days they missed at the end of the school year?
This is Pat Sander again from Seattle Public Schools. We're working with OSPI for guidance there as the situation continues to evolve.
We also got a question earlier today. How are organizations paying during the closures? Do they have to use PTO or has leave been extended? Can anyone in the room speak to this question?
Could you repeat the question? It wasn't clear.
Of course. So someone asked, how are organizations paying staff in the closures? Do they have to use PTO, paid time off, or has leave been extended?
Hi, this is Ro from SDHR, and I want to address that question by saying that it's being considered, and there are, let's see, I think that there's some guidance that should be coming out. I can't confirm that it works for all cases as far as what leave will be extended to employees, but there's an overall effort to make sure people are still receiving paychecks and still able to work during this period. So I just want the listeners on the line to understand that this is something on the city's radar, obviously, but.
Thank you. It looks like there is another question that just came in. What guidance can public health give so that people who want to help their neighbors do it safely? And I'll repeat the question just one more time. What guidance can public health give so that people who want to help their neighbors can do it safely? Can anyone in the room speak to this question? All right, so it seems like public health will be the best folks to answer this question. We'll make sure to take it down and follow up with the folks participating in this webinar with answers. We also received asking, will the city get some Zoom accounts that residents can use? I'll repeat the question. Will the city get some Zoom accounts that residents can use? Is there anyone in the room who can speak to this question? It sounds like this is also one of those, oh, Monica, did you want to say something? No. So this is a question that we will again take back and talk to Seattle IT to see if there are answers around this question, and we'll share it out following this webinar. It seems as though this Q&A session is slowing down. Does anyone want to add anything before we conclude the webinar? All right, so before we leave, I just want to remind folks that we have shared an email, Monica Guevara at seattle.gov. She is a great contact in case you have follow-up questions or need to learn more about these webinars. As I mentioned at the start of this webinar, the Department of Neighborhoods is hoping to host these webinars on a weekly basis to keep our local community informed as new things develop in our city. Please share your email with us or send your email to Monica Guevara so you can continue to receive updates about these events. We appreciate you tuning in and hope to continue these conversations on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, and thank you to all of the presenters who helped out. Really appreciate it. This webinar really wouldn't exist if it weren't for you participating, so thank you.